everyone, and welcome to the podcast, where we explore the experiences and insights of future educators. Today, we have a very special guest, Tinna, a student at Western Sydney University, who is about to complete the Primary Health and Physical Education unit. Hi Tinna, thanks so much for joining us today. We're really excited to hear about your journey through this unit. To start, can you tell us a little bit about why you think PDHP is a valuable curriculum area?
Thank you so much for having me on. PDHPE is an extremely valuable curriculum. The objectives for this curriculum is focused on building students' knowledge and understanding, developing fine skills and positive values and attitudes towards physical activity and health. As highlighted in Dudley and colleagues' 2020 book, Teaching Quality Health and Physical Education, PDHPE is not just about games or exercise. It's about building the fundamental foundations for lifelong health, safety, and well-being skills. Supporting the holistic development of children, the curriculum fosters physical, social, cognitive, and emotional growth, helping students understand and discover things not only about themselves as individuals, but the people around them. In 2022, Miller and their colleagues highlighted that the content and skills covered in PDHPE cultivated skills such as resilience, respect, self-management, and autonomy. PDHPE is a subject which encourages its students to make informed choices for themselves and for their community. Along with building these crucial skills, another reason why physical education is so valuable is due to it being a fundamental aspect of movement skills acquisition. So students are able to participate in a range of physical activities confidently and competently.
How insightful! So, how does PDHP connect with other curriculum areas and develop skills beyond physical education?
Penny and Quill's text from 2004 covers how PDHPE connects closely with other curriculum areas such as literacy, numeracy, and ICT. For its literacy connection, students read, analyze, and evaluate health text while developing subject-specific vocabulary to explain and argue ideas. Numeracy links are evident as students interpret health statistics, measure data such as heart rate or BMI, and apply ratios and percentages to identify trends. ICT connections include building digital literacy by evaluating online health information, using apps and wearable devices, and creating multimodal campaigns to promote health and well-being. PDHP also addresses online safety, ethical use of technology, and issues such as cyberbullying. Beyond physical health, PDHPE enhances transferable skills. Students are evaluating health claims, analyzing data, and solving problems around well-being, collaborating in groups to debate ethical issues and apply numeracy and literacy in real-world contexts. Through these practices, PDHPE develops critical thinking, communication, problem-solving, teamwork, and leadership skills.
Interesting. Can you explain the game sense approach?
Well, according to Light's text from 2013, the Game Sense approach is a student-centered model that uses tactical games to develop abilities within authentic contexts. Instead of using isolated drills, students are learning through gameplay, where they must think on the spot, formulate tactics, strategize, and make quick decisions. Teachers support this process through questioning feedback and game modifications. Opportunities to replay games also allow students to apply the feedback given by the teacher and transfer learning into effective solutions.
What are some strengths of Game Sense approach as a training approach?
Well, in 2024, Gonzalez and their team conducted a critical analysis of the Game Sense approach, highlighting that situating students in real game contexts develop their tactical awareness and understanding of when and why to apply skills, rather than only how. Another study by Mo and his team in 2024 also found that engaging students in meaningful, enjoyable games increased motivation, persistence, and positive attitudes towards PE. Clementine and their team in 2021 also looked at this and found that smaller-sized modified games allowed for technical skills to be practiced under realistic scenarios, ultimately benefiting skill acquisition.
Okay, that makes sense. How does the Game Sense approach link to PDHP's syllabus strands and outcomes?
Well, the Game Sense approach links to the movement, skill, and performance strand from the PDHPE syllabus, aligning with outcomes such as PD 3-4 and PD 3-5, which requires students to develop proficiencies in movement and technical skills, decision-making, problem-solving, and participation. The Game Sense approach applies these skills students have acquired in a variety of real-life contexts. As an example of this, Stage 3 outcomes for movement and skill performance PD 3-4 states that students must adapt movement skills in a variety of physical activity contexts. This outcome is effectively addressed through the game sense approach, which engages students in games, encouraging them to apply and adjust their movement competencies within dynamic and tactical situations.
Can you talk me through 2 of your theory lessons?
Okay, so in one of my theory tutorials, we investigated how learning in PDHP extended to broader skills such as literacy, numeracy, and digital literacy. My key takeaway from this lesson was understanding how PDHP linked to other academic skills, which aligns with Randall and Fleet's findings from 2021, where they found that primary PDHPE gives students the opportunity to develop knowledge across different areas. This newfound knowledge contributed to my professional development by showcasing the multifaceted role of PDHP across other academic areas. Connecting to the learning across the curriculum in the PDHP syllabus, this tutorial explores the integration of literacy, numeracy, and ICT, and so many more cross-curriculum topics. For example, just one of the many ways PDHP lessons connects to the other curriculum areas is when talking about interpreting health statistics, measuring data like heart rate or BMI, and applying ratios and percentages to identify health trends in a PDHP lesson. These skills are strongly tied and transferred from numeracy. Also teaching me about the different inclusive teaching strategies, I learned how ICT in PDHP can support the diverse needs of students, providing them with additional guides and visual aids to support their understanding and learning. This also includes EALD students, which may struggle to communicate and display their understanding. However, with ICT resources, such as interactive games and translation tools, this allows them to demonstrate their understanding in an alternative manner. I think that this lesson will be influencing my approach to planning and teaching PDHP lessons, as I will be more aware of the many cross-curriculum priorities that I can be implementing into my lessons. By designing lessons that consider cross-curriculum links, students are able to transfer their skills and apply them in meaningful real-world scenarios, engaging and enabling students to strengthen their critical thinking skills. In another theory tutorial, we identified some potentially controversial topics in PDHPE, such as menstruation and contraceptives, and we covered the best strategies to address these issues. This reflects EZA and their team's 2019 analysis of sexuality in education in the Australian curriculum, which highlights the challenges teachers encounter when addressing these topics and emphasise the need for sensitive, inclusive pedagogical approaches. My key takeaway from that lesson was how important it is to discuss these topics in a sensitive manner and really having meaningful discussions that utilize age-appropriate language to create a safe and inclusive environment for all students. This has contributed to my professional development as an educator, as I now recognize the potential contentious topics and have a wider understanding of how to facilitate meaningful discussions that do not shame or discredit any adverse opinions. The contents of this tutorial align closely with the PDHP syllabus strands, health, well-being, and relationships, and healthy, safe, and active lifestyles as it relates to students understanding factors affecting health, safety, and well-being. This tutorial showed me how to navigate sensitive discussion points. By identifying ways to manage and deliver contemporary issues, this lesson helped me understand how to apply inclusive teaching strategies to cater to different students. When addressing sensitive and potentially uncomfortable topics, it is essential to ensure the content is appropriate for students' developmental age. At a primary school level, there is no need to provide extensive detail or explicit information, as students may not yet have the cognitive or emotional maturity to fully process and understand the complex issues. Providing an inclusive lesson about these topics means I must use age-appropriate language and adapt resources to meet the diverse cultural and learning needs of my students. These efforts will ultimately create a safe and respectful environment that allows students to engage fully with our conversations without feeling overwhelmed. The content from this tutorial has definitely changed my perspective on the way I will be delivering these discussions in my future teaching.
Okay, can you talk me through 2 of your practical lessons?
So in one of my prac tutorials, we investigated how Indigenous games can be a powerful way to connect physical education with cross-curriculum priorities and ways to modify games to increase participation and adjust the skill level. This was a memorable lesson as it made me recognize that games such as Burro Injun is an amazing tool to promote cultural awareness and respect while simultaneously still aligning with PDHPE content and outcomes for developing fine skills, cooperation, and decision making. Contributing significantly to my professional development and understanding of physical education, this lesson has broadened my perspective of how to embed culturally inclusive practices into my physical education lessons, whilst boosting active participation by integrating modifications to games. Aligning with the movement skill and performance strand, the contents of this lesson taught me about the range of contexts in which movement skills can be adapted. Broingen was the Indigenous game I focused on. It provided me with an opportunity to practice incorporating Indigenous perspectives, supporting the cross-curriculum priority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders' histories and cultures. Research with Wrench and Garrett in 2021 supports this, emphasizing that Indigenous games can both promote cultural respect and inclusivity, while also meeting core PE outcomes such as cooperation and movement skill adaptation. Exploring the possible modifications of games, this lesson helped me to understand how to apply inclusive teaching strategies to cater to different range of ability levels. Such modifications we looked at included adjusting distances, simplifying rules, and substituting equipment. These types of modifications increased engagement and motivation for when games were not working as planned, ensuring that students felt supported in their learning environment to contribute. Using the knowledge I acquired from this lesson, I aim to embed Indigenous games into my PDHPE lessons, as I now understand that these games can help build movement skills as well as hit the cross-curriculum priority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and cultures. Additionally, I also intend on using my knowledge on thoughtful modifications so I'm able to curate games and lessons with a focus on prioritizing participation, confidence, and inclusivity, ensuring all my students experience success. In another one of my practitorials, we covered how to effectively teach AFL-specific skills. My key takeaway from this lesson was understanding how clear instruction, supportive language, and simple drills can make skills that seem complex accessible to learners with very little knowledge of the skill. This reflects Buchanan's 2022 findings that fundamental movement skills are most effectively taught through engaging approaches that simplify learning while promoting confidence. This lesson has developed my professional understanding of planning scaffolded lessons to teach technical skills while simultaneously balancing game understanding and maintaining student engagement. Again, this lesson also aligned with the syllabus strand, movement skill and performance. Here, students are developing and acquiring technical skills such as ball handling, kicking and passing, and learning to adapt these skills into the AFL context, aligning with outcome PD 3-4. By observing the AFL mentors, I was able to understand the effectiveness of inclusive teaching strategies, such as simplified instruction. By breaking the skill down in a step-by-step format, this scaffolding made the skill acquisition far easier to comprehend and manage, leading to a higher rate of success. I'm really looking forward to transferring this knowledge into my practice as a teacher. I aim to incorporate scaffolding and clear and supportive instructions. By integrating these strategies, I am ensuring that my students will be taking part in lessons that are skill-focused and engaging, that will ultimately allow them to feel more confident within their skills for games such as AFL.
That's really cool to hear. Moving on, what have you learned throughout the semester, and how will it inform your approach to teaching PDHPE?
So through the semester, I participated in lessons that covered the cross-curriculum links of PDHPE and strategies to approach challenging topics with care. In addition, I've also participated in practicals where I learn about Indigenous games which promote inclusivity and cultural awareness. And I had a lesson where AFL mentors taught us how to simplify skills and adapt teaching for different stages.
How did the learning activities relate to theory and content?
Connecting to the PDHPE strands movement skill and performance and health, well-being and relationships, the contents from these lessons has allowed me to familiarize myself with the contents and theories from the curriculum.
How do you feel about teaching PDHPE after studying the subject?
Ultimately, I feel like I'm definitely more confident after studying this subject. This unit has taught me some skills I plan on carrying with me for a long time in my professional career.
And that's the podcast. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope to see you guys next time. See ya!